Assalamu alaikum and peace and blessing be upon all of you. I am here at the Islamic of New Tampa, here at the beautiful mosque that was just built a while back. And these are all the converts that has converted to Islam in one time or another. But at the same time, we're here with a very, very special guest here, Brother Phillip. I think you guys remember Brother Phillip just from a couple weeks ago when we had the convert meeting at Islamic Society of Tampa Bay. And Phillip is Sheikh Saeed's a student, and actually he was studying under Sheikh Saeed for almost 11 years. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I want to do this, a while back, and it's a beautiful night. It is the holy month of Ramadan. We have all these converts gathering here. All these folks are here. They all are. And salam, brother.
Alhamdulillah.
So can you tell me a little bit exactly? I know you talked about just a few weeks ago that how you became Muslim and so on and so forth. But Assalamu alaikum. Can you tell me a little bit about exactly now that you've been a Muslim for about 11 years? How long did you study under Sheikh Saeed originally? Because I mean, the way you read the Quran Kareem, it's just like you can't even tell the difference. If you're Arab or if you're.
So how long have I been studying?
How long you've been studying, and then exactly from the time that you converted, how did you decided that you wanted to take it farther and study under Sheikh Saeed?
So when I first started studying about Islam, so when I actually gave my Shahada, it was about 4 months. And when I went with Sheikh Saeed, I was talking with him for about 4 or 5 hours that day when I actually gave my Shahada. And then
that was 10 years ago.
11 years ago.
What year was it?
2010.
Okay.
And then from there, he invited me to come study with him. Now he's a big celebrity. Everybody wants him as a teacher. But he had just came to Tampa at that time.
Yeah.
He'd only been in Tampa maybe 6 months. And so I was able to have class with him 4 nights a week. 2 nights he was teaching me Arabic, and then 2 nights he was teaching me comparative religion. Yeah, comparative religion. And so I studied. And so I was studying with him. That was in the summertime, and then ever since then, it's been on and off, either due to work or other stuff. There's been times where I might have taken like a year and haven't. I think since 2018 I had to stop because of work. Because I was just so busy, and the days I was off, he wasn't at the masjid, so I didn't have time to study with him. But I've been studying with him since I became Muslim. He's taught me everything from Alif, Ba, Ta to all the قراءات, أحكام التجويد, المخارج والحروف, صفات الحروف, when it comes to قراءة, he does classes on the different قراءات.
Yeah.
And he does the different books, like the books of knowledge, like عمدة الأحكام, كتاب الفتن by Imam Bukhari, شماء المحمدية, and كتاب الفتن, all the other books that I've studied with him.
That means it's mind blowing because the way you even do the pronunciation of the words it's so deep and accurate, and it seems like Sheikh Saeed has really put some, he was telling us allegedly that even from the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that how they would completely look at his mouth, how it would open, and there are even some people that if they're blind and they put their hand, so they can see exactly the opening of the mouth in a certain way.
Yeah, that's what really helped me. Had the visuals on how to pronounce it, how to what your mouth should be,
sure,
how your tongue should be, whether the letter's going to come.
You want to come sit right here? No, it's okay. Let me just thank you. I appreciate it. Let's just sit right up here. Let me come there so there's some light. How long does it actually? It really took you to be able to talk the way you are. I mean,
it's been 11 years, and I'm still working on it. What helped me a lot was just the books that had the words from Arabic translated to English, the Quran. They had it translated for each word in Arabic to English. So that helped me build a vocabulary. I haven't yet been able to take a class in grammar.
Yeah.
And so trying to find the time now to learn it, because that would help a lot. But I mean, just practicing talking with people who speak the Arabic language, that's been a big help. And especially because the way that I picked up Arabic is through listening to the Quran. It helps because I can understand when people talk to me a little bit. So I can listen to a khutbah in Arabic or a lecture in Arabic, and I'm not able to understand 100% of it, but I can pick up at least 60, 70%,
Wow.
and then I'll ask somebody else, can you fill me in on the rest that I missed? But I'm still, to this day, I'm still learning, and every day I'm trying to learn more, whether it's in Arabic, whether it's Quran or something. I'm trying to always expand my knowledge. That's what the first revelation that came down to Prophet Muhammad was Iqra, and so read, and that's what I try to do each day, read, learn something new.
So you're still pretty much actively, because I know the last time you told us that you have memorized about 10 juz.
Yeah.
So are you still actively trying?
Yes. It was hard when I wasn't with Sheikh Saeed because the motivation to keep memorizing I kind of lost it. I would review what I had, but to keep going, it was hard to motivate myself to keep going. But now that I'm back with classes with him, now I'm starting to get back to memorizing again.
You're taking class with him?
Yes, that's like.
So, what is your? I know it's been 10 years now. Can you tell me, as far as your parents goes? I'm sure they have seen so much, change in you. How do they feel now about Islam as a whole?
Right now, they accept it completely, and they see the beauty of it. Alhamdulillah. Before, especially because this was 11 years ago, the internet was not as advanced as it is now, and all they knew was the stuff that they see on CNN and Fox News about Islam, and so they would ask me silly questions that a lot of non-Muslims ask Muslims, they look something up on Wikipedia and ask me, why did Prophet Muhammad ﷺ marry so many wives? Why did he marry a 9-year-old? And
how would you answer that? Because that's a question that a lot of people ask, and how were you answering that question?
Well, now I know how to answer it. Back then I didn't. Now, you could go into it into detail. You would tell them, now in these days, 2021, to hear somebody married a 9-year-old, we think that's, you think that's bizarre and that's weird. But you got to remember, this was 1,400 years ago. So a different time, different place, and people were just different back then. The people, they developed differently when it came to actual maturity, when it came to mental, because Osama bin Zayd, he was the commander of an army when he was 14 years old. What kind of 14-year-old now is going to be a commander of a real army? They're too busy playing video games and stuff like that. And the people, they matured differently. And we think of a 9-year-old, we think of a little kid. But there's been kids, sometimes people, they develop into their bodies at a young age. We've seen people at 13, boys at 13 look like they're grown men. There's been girls in these times that they're 11, 12 years old, they've already hit puberty. They can look like they're older.
And that doesn't mean that you have sex at that age either.
Yeah, but there's
so many.
Also, we look at it as you think about, it was 1,400 years ago. You don't have to go 1,400 years ago to find something like that. And there's documents in this country, even up until 1994, the consent age for a girl to get married was, in most states, was 11, except in Maryland, it was 7. And that was in 1994. And then even more so, you got to think about, if you go into the Catholic Encyclopedia, Mary, who's the mother of Jesus, who's supposed to be the God in Christianity, the mother of Jesus, the God in Christianity, she was 12 years old.
Assalamu alaikum, sister. Good to see you. So good to see you.
She was 12. No, you're good. She was 12 years old, married. She was 12 years old when she got married to Joseph, and Joseph was 110 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's the thing, though. It's nothing. We look at it as bizarre because it just seems weird to us. But it's just like in this country, people eating burgers. If you go, if you're in India and you're eating a burger, people are gonna think you're crazy. And so it's a culture thing.
So once when you answer obviously those questions, was those questions the answering was satisfactory for them later on down the road? Once when you learn how to answer those questions.
Well, I never really answered them to my parents. What really got them to start accepting Islam was just the change in my character and my akhlaq.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I wasn't a bad person before Islam, but just the way after I became Muslim, and just the love I showed to my parents, the more respect that I showed to my parents, and they saw like I wasn't messing around anymore. I was taking stuff seriously. I became more disciplined. That's what really got them to accept Islam. Like accept me being Muslim. You know, they haven't accepted Islam yet, like and become Muslim. May Allah guide them. But what really got, like I said, what really gets a lot of people to accept Islam, even back in the time of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, was the character of the Muslims and how they treated other people.
But what you say is you do first yourself.
Absolutely.
So the background before that was Christianity.
Yes, I grew up in a church. Went to the Church of Christ, and we stopped going in about when I was 12. The congregation that we went to here in Tampa, there were two very renowned preachers, but then they started to leave. One preacher left, he went to another church, and then a majority of the congregation went to the church that he went to, but we still had the other preacher, but then he left, and then another majority of the congregation left, and then eventually people just stopped coming, and so the church we went to shut down when I was about 12 years old. And so from about the time I was 12 to the time I was about 19, I didn't really have religion. And when I was in my freshman year in high school, that's when I started getting back more into it. Every now and then I'll still pray, I'll pray to God. But you know, the main thing that really got me to accept Islam was that as a Christian, I never believed that Jesus was God. Yeah. I thought he was maybe the Son of God because that's just what I was taught. But when I would pray, I would never pray to Jesus. I would never ask Jesus to help me. I would only ask God to help me.
Sorry, brother, can I take the lanterns? We're just going to wrap up.
Sure, absolutely.
Getting ready for Taraweeh.
Yep,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
And so when I was with Sheikh Saeed and he told me,
Explain that to you.
Yeah, when he told me, he asked me, is Jesus God? And I said, no, he's the Son of God. Then he showed me like the articles and the evidence that in Christianity they believe that Jesus is God. And so that didn't make sense to me because I was thinking, he was on earth, he was praying to God, asking God to help him. How is he God? And so I'd go and ask different people, Christians, my parents, other pastors, I'm like, is Jesus God or is Jesus the Son of God? And everyone gave me different answers. Someone would say he was God, someone would say he's the Son of God, and I'm like, y'all don't even know your own story. So that was a big thing for me when I became Muslim.
When you ask these questions from your parents, what do they say? I mean, I'm talking about as far as was he God or the Son of God? I mean, that confusion.
My mom says that he's just the Son of God, but my dad says that he's God. And that when they try to explain it, he's the human form of God when he was on earth. I'm like, okay, so he was talking to himself, asking himself, and just the explanation that nobody could make that clear to me. Nobody could make it make sense to me, and I don't think they can make it make sense to themselves. They just want to, that's what they've been believing their whole life, and they just, Allah hasn't opened their hearts yet to the truth, to the haqq.
Yes, very, very amazing. Were you religious when you were younger? Or sort of kind of?
So up until I was 12, yeah, we'd go Sundays and Wednesdays, and I would always be like one of the, I would like to memorize the verses that they would give us to memorize. And
you were memorizing? Were you memorizing in English or you were memorizing in
English? Yeah.
English.
Yeah, I didn't even know the Bible was written in a different language until I started actually studying it. Until I started becoming Muslim. Until I became Muslim, I had no idea that the Bible was written in another language. Like, originally it was written in another language. I know it's like, you don't...
Which nobody really have the original one.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
nowhere to be found to begin with.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense. It made sense to me when I thought about it. But back, like, people are like, how do you not know it wasn't written in English? But I was never really taught much about Christianity, just what they teach us in church.
But what really made you curious about Islam? I mean,
If you remember what I was talking about a couple weeks ago, like when I was a senior in high school, I met a friend,
that's right.
and they were telling me.
No
problem. But I met my friend, and I just asking them about Islam one day. This was like when I started getting back into religion, and I just asked them, what do you believe? What's your belief? I know you're Muslim. What they tell me about? The thing that really piqued my curiosity was that in Islam, that they believe the same the prophets that Christianity does, because I had no idea about that. I thought it was a completely different religion. And so when I found that out, and then I found out Muslims believe basically the same thing about Jesus, then I was like really blown away, and that's when I wanted to start studying more about it and find out more about it.
Well, I think they're getting ready to have the Tarawih prayer. But Phillip, I mean, your story is so incredible, and I really want to continue, talking a little bit more. Hopefully here in the next few days when you have some time, and maybe even you could be a part of the Al-Fatiha, and because Al-Fatiha was designed for the converts, and we're going to be doing a lot of different stuff, and maybe because you went through it yourself personally, you can educate some of the folks that they are curious about Islam, especially coming from someone like yourself. I think it'll have a much more bigger impact than somebody who was born a Muslim.
Right, absolutely.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm sure we'll talk soon. We gotta go to Tarawih prayer. Peace and blessing be upon all of you.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.